Hey, welcome back to the AllMonster Monster Truck Podcast. My name is Travis, and I'm joined here, of course, as always, by one of the original founders and masterminds of AllMonster, Mr. Robby Hot, and today we are going to be talking about the Monster Jam World Finals that took place this last weekend in Salt Lake City, Utah, and we were lucky enough to see it streamed for the second year in a row in all of its glory, and that's what we got going on today. So, of course, we got to open it up with the usual Robby. How the hell are you, man?
The show this weekend?
I'm sorry?
There was a show this weekend? Something happened?
I heard something about a show. Probably just a small fair show or something. Nothing consequential.
Right. Yeah. No, it's the World Finals. We had a lot of fun covering everything, man. It was a lot of a lot. It's a lot of a lot. That's what the World Finals is anymore. Not in a complaining way, but just in a, boy, is it a lot to take in anymore. You got 3 days of big monster trucking, and we're going to do our best to attempt to cover all that and see how it goes, man. I, overall, just wanted to know your thoughts about the World Finals first. I'm going to put you on the spot, man. What did you think of the show as a whole, and then what stood out to you?
Oh, man. Where do you even start, right? Well, first things first, just want to send a reminder out to everybody and let you know we are available on Apple and Spotify. Don't forget to subscribe or follow us on those platforms. Leave us rating reviews. You can leave us comments on our Spotify episodes. And, of course, don't forget to check us out on YouTube if you're not already subscribed. And if you do subscribe, that's a huge help to us, and we really appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, leave us a comment there, and all that jazz. So,
yes, and we actually answer the comments as well. There are people that ask for those, and then it bothers me. They don't answer the comments. What's the whole point of leaving a comment if people don't answer it? You will get an answer unless you just type something ridiculous. And even then, maybe you'll get an answer from us. We really appreciate it. We truly do.
Yeah, absolutely. And we want to engage with you as much as we want you to engage with us. So let's have a good time and let's talk monster trucks, man. That's what it's all about. So with the formalities out of the way, you posed the question, what did I think of World Finals? I made a lot of notes here, and we're going to get into kind of all the highlights of the weekend. And let's ask the question this way. What letter grade would I give the 2025 World Finals? I'm probably going to have to go with a C-. Okay. Overall, I think the biggest negative that I felt wasn't necessarily any of the action or anything. I did think the track left to be desired, but I think the biggest sticking point to me was it just felt like two regular stadium events. None of it really felt like World Finals. And a lot of that obviously is the format, but when you have 12 trucks racing and you have 12 trucks freestyling and 12 trucks doing a third competition, be it skills or high jump, that's exactly what a normal stadium show is. So with that was my biggest takeaway, honestly, from the whole weekend. I don't want to say the weekend, the event as a whole was a letdown, because it definitely had its moments, but I would like to see them not follow this format. And in a perfect world, I would love to see them do racing and freestyle one night. If we see all 24 trucks in each competition, that's going to feel like the World Finals to me. And I'm not saying you have to do everything in one night in order for it to feel like World Finals. I didn't have a problem when they split the racing and freestyle into different nights. I quite enjoyed that. But it like I said, it just felt like two regular stadium shows to me. So with that, Robby, I'll pose the same question to you. If you had to give a letter grade to the World Finals this year, what would it be and why?
I'm going to go with a C+. I have a few of the same concerns that you do. Mainly the number one concern, I know that we have beaten this stuff into the ground. This will not be a complaining fest episode, so don't worry, people. We got the positives in here too, but I would be lying to the internet if I said that the first thing that I didn't notice out of the weekend when I was kind of taking everything in, processing it afterwards, was Yeah, it'd be really nice if we had a conclusive winner after each night. And it hurt racing, which I thought was tremendous. After they got rid of that bump, hey, I was completely wrong. They got rid of the bump, and it made things even faster, and everybody adjusted, and I really, really thought that the racing was a standout point of the weekend, which is nice to say in 2025. However, I feel like the separate days of competition in each discipline, I mean, there had to have been some people that didn't see any of the runs in day one and then are voting blind as fan judges in freestyle on day two. That really bothers me. So you're telling me everybody in the arena saw everybody's runs yesterday and is going to judge fairly at the biggest competition of the world? You'd be lying to me if you said yes. You'd also be lying to me if you said that all of those expert judges are really qualified to do their thing. I'm not going to get into specific people, but I will say I think that the judging and that concept needs completely overhauled. I have said it for years and years. It's bad. That's nothing to say of the actual people that won and everything like that, but you could see the disparity in the scores. You could see the problems that having the format in this day presented, not the least of which was our worst nightmares came true when it came to racing. The course was not the same. It was not even. I will give Monster Jam their credit and their props for making a few judgment calls during the racing competition that I felt were the right calls, namely getting rid of that bump and then also fixing up the red lane as it was deep in rut after just a couple of runs. So get rid of the format. It's stupid. There's no reason for it. I will beat that horse until it's dead, dig it up, beat it again. I don't like beating horses, but you get the analogy. It is terrible. Please stop with this nonsense. Just overall for me, that was the letdown piece, and that was the first thing I thought of was, man, this isn't fair. And at the World Finals, it should be fair above all else. Not a show, not anything else. That wasn't fair. It wasn't fair to Zach Garner that he had a burner the first day, and then guarantee you the people that were there day two were not the exact same people as day one. So how is that possibly fair when it comes to freestyle? That really, really bothered me, not the least of which was, they got to do something about skills. I'm going to kind of leave that there for now because I'm sure we'll get there. But overall, I was happy for the people that won. I was sad for the way that such a great event was presented because, to your point, I did feel kind of like there were a few moments that felt like the World Finals, but there were more moments that felt like, well, this is kind of what they wanted, and what they wanted was 2 stadium shows, not one big World Finals.
Yeah, and like I said, too, I mean, I understand why they did the format the way they did, if my theory is even correct. Of course, that's just speculation, and I've talked about it ad nauseum before, and I'm not going to get into it now. But to circle back on a couple of your points where you don't have definitive winners in either competition on the first night, it makes the show have a very flat ending. Like there's no actual winners tonight. Yeah, of course, somebody won their bracket on Friday, but there's no championship that's being won that night. So, I mean, if I'm in that stadium, I'm going to feel like it's maybe a little bit of an incomplete show, especially if I'm not some super fan that's going to be there for both days. And I'm sure the majority of the crowd that was there Friday night was not going back Saturday.
You're a clueless super fan or a mom and dad that wanted to, I don't know, pick a truck. They had a truck that was their favorite and they didn't know any better and they bought a ticket for one of the shows, and that was the night that their favorite truck didn't get to compete.
Yeah, and then also to circle back to the bump coming out of that turn in the racing lanes, I kind of liked it. It did kill a little bit of momentum, but I did think it made it a little bit more of a driver's course also, and added some needed strategy, and it would really come down to the best driver winning that race, I felt. And that's something that I think we miss from a lot of our modern day tracks is they all have to be driven pretty much the same way in order to get around. there isn't really any extra strategy. It's like, oh, if I hit this a different way or change something up this way, I might gain more time or something like that, right? So, I mean, I liked it in that sense where it added more strategy and added more technique. I was curious to see if it was possible that if you could take that turn super wide and super deep, if you could just gun it over that bump and maybe make it onto the tabletop. Maybe that's just a wild theory and very good chance that wasn't possible, but I was curious if that was something that could come into play, and then you have that extra bit of strategy. Do you nail that roller and hope you make it onto the tabletop if you're coming from behind and that race really matters? Or are you going to roll it over, play it safer, but if you do it right, you're still going to be fast. So with that being said, I mean, yeah, everybody's going to have their points. I was actually surprised seeing some of the Facebook groups. I don't want to say it seemed overwhelmingly positive what people thought about the World Finals this year, but there was a lot more positivity overall than what I definitely expected there to be based on what I thought, because of what I saw, and some other friends of mine who thought overall it wasn't great to them either. So I'm glad some people liked it, and we'll see if they change it up next year, because they did officially announce, I believe, during the press conference that the Monster Jam World Finals are going to be returning to Salt Lake City again next year. So I'm curious to see if they do change up that format at all. If they don't, and yeah, you mentioned two-wheel skills and high jump. We'll get into that, but let's go into some positives, because we've been a little bit negative, and I don't think that's fair, because there were a lot of good things that we still enjoyed, and we only criticize because we care, right? So I guess the first 100%. Things first, we talk about the pit party stuff just a little tiny bit. We saw a couple new identities. We saw out of the Pagliarulo camp, we saw Brooks' new truck, Misfire, and I love that name. Old school body, pretty cool paint job, nice and purple. It sticks out. I'm a big fan of that name. The truck looks great. I'm excited to see Brooke get behind the wheel more. She shows a lot of promise in the one or two times that she has driven her in a show. So what did you think about Misfire?
2 words for Misfire. Hell yeah. That thing is awesome. I cannot wait to see it hit the track. I love the design. I love the paint. You know how sometimes the America's Got Talent of the judges are like, well, there's not much else to say. You rocked it. Yeah, that's exactly how I felt about Misfire and Team Throttle Monsters Shell Shocked. They were both just tremendous, and wow, what creativity. And what a marker for the industry too, that these independent teams are coming out with stuff like this at the World Finals and debuting it, and it's just pristine, man. As we mentioned on the past podcast too with the Pags, I called them crazy, and I still maintain that. They're crazy good, but man, what a weekend for them. Starting off with that's about the best you could have a debut go in that sense. Like, I didn't see many negative reactions, if any, to that thing, and nor should there be. That's a great fit. It's a great new identity, and there's nothing like being able to start off with that and have it continue. And just a little side point too, I have noticed how now the younger drivers, the newer generation that's in the sport, is really recognizing how important it is to be associated with one truck and one name, and to kind of have their own identities to do that with. Instead of Brooke, her first run being in an El Toro Loco or something. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but as an independent, you can choose your own adventure there. And I really like that. So a lot of people are choosing to have, you saw Chris Kohler really protect Mayhem as his identity. John Zimmer Jr., of course, well documented with Terminal Velocity. Plain Crazy Train. These are starting to see independent identities, and in my opinion, they're on the same level as the Feld identities. There's a lot of creativity and a lot of great stuff there. I loved both of those designs a ton. And I'll be honest, I don't always love the new stuff that comes out, but man, Shell Shocked and Misbehaving just knocked it out of the park.
I totally agree with you. And to your point on having your own identity, if I understand correctly, Shell Shocked is a name that Dalton is, he owns that. That is his IP.
Yeah.
That shell, no pun intended, looks fantastic. It really has that snapping turtle front end. There's no mistaking even the kind of species of turtle that is.
Yeah.
The name is fitting. It's interesting. It makes it look as though it's wearing kind of like a army helmet. It's definitely unique, and man, I especially love the way that Star Creations put that mold together, because they knocked it out of the park. I'm very excited to see that thing run, and for Dalton to really take the helm with his own creation, and he's really got a good chance to make that thing legendary, and he's very capable of doing that for sure. So shout out to Dalton, shout out to Brooke Pagliarulo also, because we got 2 new trucks to look forward to seeing, and it's awesome.
Hey, and on a logistical standpoint, I meant to say too, that front clip with Shell Shocked also swaps out with Jurassic too, so they got a little less work maybe to do if Dalton gets a little too wild, or Tim Hall Jr. And speaking of Tim, got to see him in Cincinnati, was really impressed with how he did, and I was sitting there thinking, it's kind of like they have 2 really good Jurassic drivers, and if there's a need for 2 trucks, that's great. But now Dalton gets to have his own thing. Tim Hall Jr., nobody's got any worries about him representing that name. He's done a great job as well, and was a backup in the skills competition. If he would have gotten a crack at that track, maybe we'd have seen some different results. But yeah, love it all. Good job to the independents on those 2 new wonderful debuts.
And with that, we kicked off the LCQ tournament or bracket. We're not going to get deep into this. Cole won, and we mentioned before, it's been quite a while since Cole hasn't made the main field off the bat, and he had to earn his way into it, and he kind of showed them, like, hey, should have just kept me in the main field. And I will say, too, I would like to see more consideration made into who is put into the main field to begin with, and I do understand they want certain names, obviously, and whatnot inside of the main field, but I do think, and I'm not going to mention anybody specifically, but based on the performances, there were a few people that definitely did about as well as you would possibly expect, and it didn't feel they fit the overall World Finals lineup, right? Because in theory, the World Finals is supposed to be the best of the best. So I'll leave it at that. But anyways, we kicked off Friday, and we saw the Wreck Deck Stunt. So Bryce Kenny came out, did a rail grind basically on the housings. Some interesting information I learned about that specific truck. That is their new stunt truck. It is running, I believe, ZF axles, which is pretty neat. And they made a lot of work to make that happen. So it's a kind of a unique build, and I'm interested to see what else they end up doing with it down the road. But I felt the rail grind, cool theory, cool concept. Overall came off pretty lame. He went out, he used one of these new bumps, I guess, to try to do a stoppie, wasn't able to get it, and then he did a backflip. I thought this opening stunt fell kind of flat, personally.
I think this will be the first one where we slightly disagree. Oh my goodness, imagine that. I thought it was cool. I didn't think it was cool just because of what happened as much as being a younger misguided youth. I did some skateboarding, and we played around with some tech decks. So for that audience and those people, it was pretty cool. It was a 50-50 grind, by the way. Not that anybody's going to be able to do a bunch of different ones, but what I liked about it wasn't necessarily that Bryce did the most unique, awesome, amazing thing ever by getting on the rail and doing that. It was that he did do a good job with it. Like, it looked cool for what it was.
Absolutely.
And that's what it was. It's a debut. I thought it went better than Sparkle Smashes last year, and it was nothing against Kayla either. It was just that her stunt was a little simpler. Bryce went into a full freaking freestyle, and that was cool because you don't get to see many, we won't call them encores, we won't call them stunts. You don't get to see many exhibition freestyles anymore, and that was what made me happy, was that he just kind of got to go out there and send her a little bit, and I like that. That was the cool part to me. Yeah. Rec Deck, hey, I'm all for sponsorship. I'm all for good money coming into the industry. It's better than having, no offense to anybody out there, but like a beer sponsorship in 2025 isn't going to play as well as something that's for the target audience. So I get it. I think that's about the most they could do with the design as far as the skateboard too. And Bryce did a good job there. I don't know. I guess the question I would ask you and anybody else with this was, what would have made it better, or what made it fall short for you specifically? Was it just that it was another freestyle and there wasn't much more to it, or did you want him to do something cooler, or what made it fall short for you, I guess?
I mean, the rail grind is cool and all, but it's so simple. You know, I think this is the perfect. Now, granted, there's a lot more that would have to go into it. But I think this is the truck where you try to do a quote-unquote kickflip, right?
Oh, yeah.
You try to do a barrel roll with this thing and finally stick it, and that would be a lot more impressive. So, I mean, that's really it. I didn't hate it. I didn't think it was very exciting, was all. But that's just a me thing, right? Everybody's got their flavor of soda, and that just wasn't mine. But that's totally cool. Other people liked it. Obviously, you liked it. I will say, I think they're going to have to add some more body mounts to the back of the skateboard, it seems like, or strengthen it up somehow, because that thing snapped right off pretty quick.
Yeah, the tail, if you will, for the skaters out there did not hold up too well. And that actually is true to life, too. A lot of times people will break tails or noses doing things. Anywho, I'm with you, man. That's the cool thing about the World Finals. Everybody takes their little kind of personal stuff in there. I had a little bit more of a connection to it than, you, assuming you never did a kickflip, right?
Definitely not. Definitely not.
Maybe it hit the right people. You've gone to a lot of accidents with people doing kickflips and failing, so I can understand that. But yeah, I do want to bring up just one little thing about this, and then also that the battle bot, or whatever you call it, crash set stunt that Tristan England did. Thought it was interesting that they did these big, huge stunts with drivers that were going to be in the main field too. What if one of them had gotten hurt?
I can understand the rec deck, especially if Bryce Kenny is going to be the full-time driver of it. Yeah, and I mean, you bring up a good point. We'll talk about Tristan's stunt and everything too, but I guess that's not something I really even thought of either. So with that, we're not going to spend a ton of time going over everything, and we're going to try to keep this about 45 minutes-ish, and we always go over, so we probably will again. But with that, I want to go into some of the highlights from racing in Friday. So I wrote down a few things here that kind of stuck out to me when I was watching everything back, because the first time I watched this, we were sitting in a bar, so we couldn't hear anything, so it was hard to digest everything fully. So I made some notes. I rewatched everything. In round one, we saw Brianna Mahan upset Adam Anderson in, like I said, round one by 0.12 seconds. So that was pretty interesting. We saw Blake take Tristan out in round one Friday. I consider that maybe just a slight upset, just because Blake isn't primarily in stadiums. He does very little stadiums. If he does, it's normally internationally. And Tristan's a stadium racer, and he usually does very well. So it was surprising to see Blake upset Tristan in round one. We saw Jurassic Attack and Dalton Widener beat Bari Musauer and Zombie in round one. And Bari had a wild crash after the finish. And it reminded me a lot of Dennis Anderson and Lindsey Wink in Pontiac. I believe it was 2006.
Yes, it was.
So it reminded me a lot of that, just the way he rolled and kind of went up behind Dalton and that sort of thing. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We saw.
What are you holding back on, man?
Well, no, those are kind of the big things that stuck out in racing. I was just trying to think if there was anything else that I was really missing, but ultimately we got, what was it? We got Zach coming out of the Friday night bracket to go on to the finals. So what did we think about racing for Friday?
Well, I'll add one more in there, I think, because it was a Friday thing. And again, here we are at the format. Sorry, guys. Hard to keep track of all that because I don't remember which days some people did stuff. So if this is the second day, then I'm sorry. But Weston Anderson, tremendous save. in his truck and then ended up taking a victory. It was actually over Cole Vennard.
I believe this was on Saturday.
Yeah, see, I don't play that. I don't care. Whatever days they were, I hate it. I hate that. Anyway, it's stupid and it's tough to keep track of. But, so Weston did something cool on Saturday. Sorry. If that was it for Friday, I guess that was it. But it's going to blend together and should be blended together anyway.
Yeah.
I really liked racing overall, I will say, though. Like, I felt the course was cool and unique. If they bring that same course back next year, then that's great. Give me some continuity. Give people some chances to play with stuff. Because I remember the times in Vegas would get shorter and shorter, faster and faster by the year as more gearheads got to be running down that track. So if they do the same course next year, I would be fine with it when it comes to racing. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I didn't have a big issue with the course either, honestly. We still saw some close races. I would just like it to be more of a driver's track, like I said. After we saw Zach Gardner and Wildside win the quote-unquote semifinals to move on to the racing championship the next day, we saw the two-wheel skills competition. And I only made one note on this, Robby, and this is nothing against any of the drivers that competed. We really didn't see anything outside of your normal two-wheel skills running stadiums that we've seen the last handful of years now. The only note that I made on two-wheel skills that I thought was really prevalent was the fact that they rejected Tyler Menninga's, I believe, second attempt completely because he did a backflip, and I believe his intention was probably to do a backflip and then come up into a reverse slap wheelie. But what I liked about this from a competition standpoint is they had this list of tricks that they showed that were allowed. The backflip was not on there. They rejected that attempt. That score did not count for anything. It's a two-wheel skills competition and not a best trick competition. So with that, it was from a competition standpoint, like I said, I like that they had these list of rules. They abided by it. They said, hey, these weren't one of the tricks on the list, and we're taking that attempt away. Like I said, I think that might have been different if Tyler had pulled off the two-wheel skill coming out of the backflip, but then do they adjust that score because, he did a backflip? It's like it's only the two-wheel part of that counts. And I know that's semantics, but when it's a world championship, those semantics still matter, right? So, but otherwise, like I said, that was the only note that I really made on two-wheel skills of something that jumped out to me.
I'm going to say something, and I don't know if everybody's going to like it. I hate skills anymore. I'll say that. I think it should be best trick at every show. Your point about best trick is exactly why I think it should be best trick. Skills is boring anymore. And, again, I will preface that post that by saying it is not a reflection on the drivers.
Exactly.
It's a reflection on the format.
Yep.
I can't with it. Mm-hmm. The drivers that did what they did at that show did what they were supposed to do. But I would much rather have that be in a best trick, do whatever you want, do something cool for the crowd. Tyler even mentioned in his Instagram post that there was some confusion over the rules. That's never a good thing to hear.
Yeah.
Anywhere.
Yeah,
really.
and like I said too, like we saw this list of moves that were going to be allowed. Now that doesn't mean the way that this was going to shake out was necessarily communicated to the drivers either, right? So
yeah.
I'm not blaming Tyler for that at all.
100% right. And overall, I just after really being back in this a lot this year, going to everything from a little fairground show to a big stadium show, the best trick format works better for me as a fan, and I think it works better for show flow. It's just not there for me. Like, and it might suck for show flow if somebody goes out there and wads it up. Don't get me wrong, but again, compared to skills, they're still doing that. Then half of the trucks in Indianapolis, it felt like, or Detroit too. It's rollovers, it's recoveries, it's constant. Like during skills, one truck goes out, rolls over on the first hit. Another truck goes out, rolls over on the first hit. Like, if it's not there, then maybe it should be kept to just arenas and not stadiums. It might be a little better to do something different there.
I do definitely think that it fits better in arenas where you need more because there are a few less trucks. And it's the best chance to really see something that maybe a new person going to a show for the first time maybe hasn't seen, or if they haven't seen a show in a long time, that's very impressive to them at that point, right? So anyways, yeah, I guess that was two-wheel skills, and that ended up being won by Tristan, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yeah, it was the low light of the weekend for me. I will say that. Skills was not good.
And I think overwhelmingly the consensus that I saw online was get rid of two-wheel skills. It was boring, and like I said, that's nothing against the drivers, but there's no excitement in it, and I think I could even say the same for high jump, which we'll talk about too. But anyways, let's get on to freestyle, and I'm just going to touch on the highlights here, like I said. And the first note that I made here was Mikey Pags and Excalibur coming out, second truck out. Had the gray Excalibur, which looked freaking sweet. He started the run with a forward roll back onto the wheels. He did 2 backflips in a row, which was awesome to see him have the guts to kind of go through that and then come out of it. Body completely came off. He had big air. He rolled with only 10 seconds left. And after the run, we saw Chucky Pauken be interviewed, which was also really cool to see them do that. And I think based on the results we saw throughout first quarter, he's somebody that maybe people were surprised to see in the main field of the World Finals, but he delivered, man. He showed them that he belonged there, and he did not look out of place really at any point all weekend as far as I can remember. So he had a great showing, and man, how cool is it to see the Excalibur name compete in the main field of the World Finals. So good on you, Mikey. It was good seeing you run out there. And hopefully we can see him back next year because, like I said, he definitely delivered, despite maybe some skepticism that some people had. So after that, at some point here, we had Cody Saucier and Dragon come out, and he had a nasty wreck. He got some big air, landed on another obstacle, and it bounced him up and forward, and he landed upside down right on the cage. So hopefully he's going to be doing okay, and there were a couple nasty hits during the World Finals as well. Cole Vennard, our LCQ winner, came out and had a very solid run also. Zimmer Jr. came out and he had a great freestyle despite only having first gear. It sounds like nobody realized until he went out for freestyle that he lost second gear in the skills competition. So, I mean, when you consider the circumstances, I mean, hell of a run for, having a disability there. So shout out to Zimmer Jr., of course. Check out Senate Motorsports on the Instas, the YouTubes, et cetera, et cetera. They're one of our partner sites. Weston came out in the red primer Gravedigger. He had massive air. He had a really cool run going. After he made a really big hit, he started to roll a little bit. He was shut off in the middle of this roll, and he possibly could have saved it if, he was allowed to. From my viewpoint, though, it looked maybe like he could have broken a rear spindle or something, too, on that landing, though, so hard to say. Now we're going to talk about Zach Garner's run. Man, great run. Kind of a barn burner, again, when you consider the circumstances. The run started with a roll save, and out of that came a rear flat tire. He ended up scoring an 8.7, which led the rest of the night and almost the entire weekend. He finished second overall in freestyle. The damage that he got was a little bit interesting. It looked like he basically broke the rim in half in the middle, and once half of the rim and the tire spit off the truck, then he was shut off, and that was the end of the run. But overall, Friday night freestyle, not half bad.
I would like to echo your sentiments on the Weston thing. I would have shut him off too with my little RII, my imaginary one that I was clicking. Not because I didn't want to see him try to save that, because I think he probably could have, even in that those tight quarters. But I saw the same thing you did. That looked like a spindle or a champagne, something like that came loose in the rear end there. Props to them for being eagle-eyed and stuff like that. Sometimes it's not popular when you shut people off, but sometimes they deserve it. And hey, no fault to Weston's. I mean, he was a good 50 feet in the air. parts break. That happens. Had an absolute barn burner of a run going, and really liked seeing Zach tear it up as well. You hit the ones that I hit from day one as far as freestyle, and you also hit the other point that I was going to make, which was, you know how you were talking about Courtney Jolly and the in-cab stuff a few episodes of the Monster Truck podcast ago?
I do.
Yeah, there were some people getting their shit rocked, buddy. There was some absolutely brutal hits. I know this is World Finals. I know this is, the be all and end all, but man, I just hope that some of those folks are truly okay, because there were a lot of tough big hits. You can't say people weren't going for it. The thing that I think really bothered me, to balance the positives, which there were some really cool runs. People made the most of what they had. See Zach, I've never seen a rim just shred in half. That was interesting. What I didn't like was that there wasn't enough customization for the course between racing and freestyle. That can be solved by, I don't know, having them separate days again and being able to truly make a separate racing and freestyle course. I almost felt like, and this was something that was a criticism last year that I read around on, I almost feel like now we, the internet community, the super fans, the whatever you want to call us, used to say, oh, there's no unique racing courses. Make it unique racing. Well, now we've got unique racing courses, but they almost get in the way of the freestyle course when the format is what it is and how it is. That's something that I noticed. There seemed to be a few drivers that were a little bit lost out there, and understandably so. It is very hard to drive a monster truck, much less at the World Finals, much less on a course like that. The people that won deserved to win. That was cool. But man, did I feel like there was a few things missing from the freestyle course.
Yeah, I can't disagree. And I don't think, I thought freestyle, to me, the course was better than what it was for last year's freestyle. There were more possibilities for big air. But at the same time, it also felt a little bit too cluttered, where you almost couldn't hit anything without landing on something else, which I know has been a long-standing criticism with a lot of different tracks for, honestly, years at this point, right? So,
yes.
Overall, though, like I said, though, I do think freestyle was better than what it was last year at SoFi. So I guess with that, let's get into Saturday. And you mentioned it earlier, this stunt with Tristan and the smash bot thing, whatever. It started with the synchronized dancing of the JCB team, which is cool. I thought it went on a little too long for not being super exciting, but it is cool to see what they can do with those and the coordination, because it takes a lot of work and synchronization and whatnot to make that happen. So, I mean, still cool. But then Tristan came out in the DIGatron, hit that high jump ramp, skied. I feel like he maybe went a little bit higher than what they were anticipating, potentially. He definitely jumped over the target zone or whatever it is on the giant robot thing. And, man, he caught that thing, and it put him on his side, and he landed directly on his side on the landing ramp there. And it looked rough. Hopefully he was feeling okay after that. And, man, that was just rough. I don't know what else to say about it.
Tristan had a rough weekend, and I don't just mean as far as results, because obviously he won a quote-unquote world championship. We won't get into any of that, but we've already talked about it. Hey, cool, good for him. But, man, he had to be feeling those hits. There's no way he didn't. I feel for you, Tristan. That was a lot on the body, and hopefully they can make a few adjustments there if they try something like that again. Namely, it seemed like they have to make those parts of the BattleBot heavy enough, to not fall over or get blown away, but they have to make it a little lighter, because, man, did the truck get tripped up and turned over. That was a few feet from being even worse, and I never want to see something like that happen in monster trucks. They got to take care of the sponsors. They got to make the trucks dance or whatever. That's fine, but that's battery changing time for me if I'm real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. So now I'll move on here to some of the Saturday highlights for racing. We saw Mike Paggs and Excalibur beat Matt Cody and Gravedigger in round one. Very cool. Good for him. We saw, now you mentioned this earlier, this race between Weston Anderson and Cole Vennard. Weston goes into the turn kind of hard, has a really great save. pulls it back out, and then Cole slips up shortly after, and Weston comes back after that gnarly save that really put him off the track. He comes back and he wins this race. Man, that was so exciting to watch with all the guys that I was watching with, and that was probably one of the most exciting races just because of the way it went down for sure. Moving on here, round 2, we saw Terminal Velocity defeat Camden Murphy, which is a little bit of an upset just in the sense that Terminal is normally on arenas. Camden is a very good stadium racer. Then we saw Weston take on Ryan Anderson in round 2, and Weston beats his big brother and moves on. And we saw Cynthia Gauthier beat Kristen, and then Cynthia crashed. Cynthia crashed after the finish, and she did not come back for the next round. Kristen ended up coming back despite losing that race against Cynthia and took Cynthia's spot in the next round. Moving on here, then we got Terminal Velocity beating Bryce Kenny and Monster Mutt in the semifinals. And then, of course, we saw Zach Garner beat one of his best friends, John Zimmer Jr., in the Saturday finals or in the overall semifinals or whatever, to later on go against Todd LeDuc in the Stars and Stripes Megalodon. So overall, for our racing competition, Todd LeDuc gets the gold medal, Zach Garner gets a silver medal, and Dalton Weiner gets the bronze medal. Now, I will say, to me, personally, I hate the gold, silver, bronze thing. I understand you're trying to make this look like the Olympics or whatever, but if you don't win the racing bracket, then it doesn't matter, in my opinion. It's cool to present these people that still did really well and made it this far in the bracket, but I don't know how much they even really care about it if they're not the winner, right? So I don't know. Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm with you there. You know, just put a times 2 next to what you said there. I wanted to add one real quick thing about the final round. Sorry to people in advance, but that was a bad final round. No two ways about it. You could see either off the line or before that. I don't know, and I wouldn't speak for other teams when I wasn't there, but it seemed that Zach's truck had an axle out, either axle or steering ram, something like that. Pretty plain that he didn't have enough time to get things fixed in between. And I'm going to say it. Could that be maybe because of some truck fatigue from the prior night? Maybe. But it didn't make for a good final round. It was very anticlimactic.
No, and it was definitely a bummer for Zach because he had a really strong shot at being a back-to-back racing championship. And the longer the years go on, the more rare that is, right? I mean,
I think he got 3 minutes. He was given 3 minutes or something to kind of fix it. And, there'll be some debate, of course, treading lightly here and being respectful of the people that were actually there and know everything. We're just speaking on what we know and what we've seen. So I don't know if there was even any thought given of them putting John Zimmer Jr. or Dalton in that spot, as a replacement for 2 fully healthy trucks in there. I don't know if that even would have made it 100% better, but, usually racers want things to be fair on the up and up. I don't know how that went out. I don't know how that went down, but it was definitely interesting to watch until it wasn't when he broke right away or was already broke off the line.
Yeah, and anyways, after we get over, so Todd LeDuc, of course, winning the racing championship on his way out. He's going to be starting his retirement from full-time driving. How much we're going to see him after this, who knows? But Todd wins, and good for him for getting that championship on his way out. Then we move on to high jump, and Ryan Anderson wins high jump, and I have nothing else to say about high jump. So moving on to freestyle.
Next.
Yep, next. All the same sentiments that we said about two-wheel. Doesn't belong, doesn't fit, doesn't add anything. Most people who follow the sport don't look at that as a real championship because the World Finals has always been racing and freestyle, and that's what matters. So,
yep.
Anyways, moving on to freestyle here. We saw Todd come out, Todd LeDuc in Megalodon. He had a couple really big hits, and on that last hit that he took, maybe his last LeDuc leap perhaps, looked like he was hurting after that one. Didn't look like he was feeling too good when they showed the camera on him in the cab there with the body falling off. So hopefully he's feeling all right after that one. And later on, we saw Colt Stevens come out in Thunder Roars, and he made a similar hit to what Todd and Weston had done the night before. He bounced off an obstacle, smashed to the next one, smashed the corner into the next ramp, bent up a 4-link. We saw a complete set of shocks flying off. We saw 4 links flying through the air. So much for the 4-link tethers, I guess. Maybe they need to have 3 tethers on every 4-link now, right? So that was pretty wild. That was a nasty wreck. Completely ripped the front end out of it. But very exciting to watch for sure. And, man, I got to say, Adam Anderson came out, and he looked like I haven't seen him driving freestyle in a long time. He really looked like he was coming for that freestyle win. It looked like the old Gravedigger, the legend, Adam Anderson coming out and really killing it, man. He looked awesome. He was getting big air. Unfortunately, he came off probably partially due to a flat tire that he sustained in a big landing. He went cattywampus coming off of a jump, rolled him over. He ended up on his side. He had a real good shot at winning. I really think he did if he could have filled the time. But
can you hear this? This is my smile watching Adam Anderson run freestyle at the World Finals.
Oh, it was so great to see.
I'm so glad that you had that down as one of your notes, dude. Like, that was probably, if I'm being real, when it comes to freestyle, that was probably one of the things that stuck out to me the most was, whoa, Adam is playing for keeps today. Shouts to Jesse Berge. It was really cool to see him turn it up, be aggressive. I don't know if the course worked for him. I don't know if this is a sign that he's going to run the legend forever now. I hope it is if he runs like that every time, because, wow. I saw that and I was like, yeah, that is the kind of World Finals freestyle I want to see. I don't like carnage for the sake of carnage. I don't like dumb hits, but I love a good, aggressive, loud, fast, strong, in-your-face freestyle. That's what Adam Anderson did, and a lot of drivers should take notes off of that, man. I don't care if he rolled 30 seconds early. I remembered Adam Anderson's freestyle, and I can't say that for everybody else in the field. Not a shot at anybody else, but man, Adam announced his presence, and he kept everybody's interest, including mine. I loved that run. I would say this. If he would have finished that run, no reason why I couldn't have seen that one taking the win. If he would have thrown a donut and another couple hits in there without that tire bugging him, man, we would have been having some conversations.
1,000%. 1,000%. And along with that, of course, not too long after, we saw Blake Granger come out in Monster at Dalmatian, and man, what a hell of a weekend Blake had. And now there's no denying that you almost have to put this guy in a different identity in a stadium tour next year. You have to, right? He came out and he absolutely killed it, made huge hits, had saves. He hit 2 backflips in a row, similarly to what Mikey Pags did. And overall, I mean, just an excellent run top to bottom, and there's nobody that can deny that. And we have to mention it, and man, it sucked to see. But we saw Tyler Menninga and Gravedigger come out, and he tried to open up his freestyle with a 2-wheel skills hit and do a moonwalk, which honestly I'm not usually a fan of in a stadium freestyle run, but when you consider the fact that there was no 2-wheel skills that night, right? So the crowd, a lot of them probably haven't seen any sort of 2-wheel skills at all that are in that building. So it was a way to give them something different that maybe they haven't seen. I feel like that has to add to your judging. But unfortunately, when he went up on the front tires, the truck just died on him. And despite what a lot of people who think they know what they're talking about are saying, that, oh, he was shut off. That's not what happened. Tyler made a post. He mentioned the truck just died. Believe it or not, trucks do shut off without officials shutting them off. And that's the nature of the beast. So the truck shut off on him, and what a downer way, unfortunately, for the reigning freestyle champion to go out and end the show. Huge bummer, but we'll definitely be rooting for him to come back bigger and badder and stronger than ever. And ultimately, Blake Granger, Monster at Dalmatian, wins the World Finals freestyle competition. And I will say, despite any quarrels anybody might have with the judging or whatever, I get it. However, I do think that this year, 1,000%, the right freestyle run won the championship.
Kind of like you said about, racing or should say skills racing, some of that stuff earlier. As long as the top one finishes, it was racing. You were talking about the medals. That resonated with me because if I was racing, I wouldn't care if I got second place. I didn't get first. That's what it means. Mm-hmm. That's how I was raised. I'm not sorry for it. Second is sometimes the first loser. I'm not a participation trophy guy, and I'm not sorry about that. But when it comes to freestyle, yeah, ultimately, all that matters, my personal quarrels with the judging and the system aside, the only thing that matters is that the right person wins. And in this case, that happened. So, cool. Very good. I can't say that I had Blake winning on my bingo card. I can't say that I didn't have to eat a little crow personally because, man, he did it, and he did it right. And I liked his interview, too. I got to say that. He talked about, he's pretty transparent, talked about, hey, when I got this phone call about the identity, I said, I didn't care what identity you put me in, I'm going to rip it. I like that attitude. He made the most with what he was given. And some drivers don't do that. They just say, oh, I'm not in a thing that works for me, and they kind of, whatever. No, he took it by the horns. He took a not ideal fit, let's be real, and he made the most of it. And now they are really, I don't want to use too many big words here, but the downstream implications of what this World Finals means are really interesting now. So you got Todd LeDuc moving out, ostensibly, I would say, I guess now Blake moves into that spot. So that's interesting. What identity will he be in for that? And then, look, I've been harping on this Weston thing. I know it's an easy, low-hanging fruit, but all right, what are we going to do now with stadiums? Are we going to have 3 stadium tours? If we have 2, are we going to expand the number of trucks in each tour? Because there's a problem when it comes to lineups, trucks, drivers, identities, a lot of things. It's a good problem to have that you have a lot of talent, but now they've got to really be, putting a lot of effort, thought, time into sort of getting this right and making it a well-balanced tour or 2 tours or 3 tours, whatever they're going to do. That's what I'm excited about. What are they going to do with these stadiums now? Because there's some coming up in, the September and October months. That's kind of when they play with some new track ideas sometimes. That's kind of when they play with some new identities, throw a few independents in there and see how they do. Well, now they're going to have a lot of testing and tuning and thinking to do when it comes to those lineups. So, I don't know if I have all the answers off the top of my head, but it's definitely a cool topic for discussion. Would love to hear what everybody else thinks in the comments as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And to your point, like you said on the comments, if you have any thoughts or opinions, what you liked about the World Finals, what you didn't like about the World Finals, what's your letter grade for the World Finals overall? Feel free to comment on Spotify, on YouTube, and let us know. Let's talk about it. I'm curious to see what viewpoints other people might have on the event, and maybe there's some considerations that they're making that I haven't. So I guess with that, we've covered the World Finals. Like we said, let us know what you thought of it. Do you agree with anything that we said? Do you completely disagree with anything we said? We want to hear it, man. We're here for all of it, the good, bad, and the ugly, right? So I guess with that, don't forget to check out AllMonster's partner sites: Samson Monster Truck, Patrick Enterprises, Send It Motorsports, Frostbite Monster Truck, Haymaker Monster Truck. Am I missing anything there, Robby?
I want to shout out the Unprofessional Wrestling Podcast, because you need to check them out too.
It will be coming back It will be coming back in the next week or 2. I will say that. If you like pro wrestling, feel free to check out, I guess, if you want, whatever. It's no big deal. Anyways, with that, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to subscribe and follow us on Apple, Spotify, YouTube. Leave us ratings, reviews, comments, click that notification bell, etc., etc. Let us know what you want us to discuss. Also on the socials, we'll be asking for some more questions for you guys. We'll have to do another mailbag episode here sometime soon. So I guess with that, we will see you right here next time on the AllMonster Monster Truck Podcast. Appreciate you guys.